Let's see how to add an event trigger to a game object in the Unity UI. I'll start by adding a canvas to my scene. And as a child to this canvas, I'll add an image. Let's set a sprite to this image, and I already have one here in my resources folder. So let's click on the image and apply the sprite. Now, I could add a new component right from the Unity editor by clicking on Add Component and then looking for Event Trigger, and I could add the event trigger right from here. But I'm not going to do that. We're going to add the event trigger from our script. So let's open the scripts folder. And here I'll create a new C# script and I'll call it Add Event Trigger. And let's attach this script to the image game object. So we're done with that. Let's now edit our script, and to do that I'll click on Assets and open C# project. And here we can see the new script, Add Event Trigger. First we're going to add a new using, and it's going to be using UnityEngine.EventSystem. And now we'll have access to all of the event system classes. Let's start by adding the event trigger component to our game object. And I remind you that this object, this game object, refers to the game object that the script is attached to. In our case, it's the image game object. And let's give a name to this new component. Now, it's important to understand that this is not an actual event. It's only a component that can hold events. The class that actually represents an event is an inner class of the event trigger class, and it's called eventTrigger.entry. So to represent an actual event, we need to create an object of the eventTrigger.entry class. And now we need to set the type of this specific event. This is done by setting the event ID field. This value has to be one of the values of the event trigger type enum. So event trigger type dot, and then I need to choose the specific type of event I want to react to. In my case, I go with a pointer click, which is probably the simplest event. Now that we have our event object, we want to connect it to a function that will actually do something. So let's start by creating this function. Now, this function has to have a parameter of the type baseEventData. If you will write a function that does not have this parameter, you will not be able to connect it to the event. And let's say that what I want this function to do is increase some counter. So let's initialize the value of the counter to 0 and display the updated value of the counter whenever this function is invoked. So we have our function, and we can now connect our event to this function. We do that by calling the callback.addListener function of our event. And as a parameter, I'll pass the function I just wrote. Now, each event trigger component holds a list of all of the events that are connected to the Unity event system. So we need to add our new event to the list of this component. And this list is called triggers. Let's get back to the Unity editor. And let's try running our game. So the game is running. Let's try to click on the image. And you can see it clicked 1 time. And if we click on the image again, we see it clicked 2 times, and then clicked 3 times, and so on.